Welcome to the DC Tweet Team Podcast with Andy Burrows.
This calls for immediate discussion.
Maurice Hawkins.
Are you sure this is legal?
I don't know. It's fun though, isn't it?
And Shelley Jordan.
I'm your huckleberry.
And now, here's your host, Andy Burrows.
Everybody to the DC Tweet Team Podcast, first ever YouTube reaction show. And what better way to start it off? As you can see, he's at work, but he's always dedicated to the cause. My main man, Kyle, all the way from the Burgundy zone. How are you, sir? Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, as we can see.
Of course, man. Excited. I'm happy that we got the victory last night. Tired, obviously, because I didn't get home until like 1 a.m. But still, dude, it was also worth it to see this football team squeak that out. Like they had no business of doing so. You know, like they gave the game away. They did. It happened. That turnover by Heineke should have been the game. And then there was the busted coverage of Sterling Shepard. But they don't give up. And I feel like that's the biggest thing here, because that's what my biggest point about week one was. Like so many times we've seen this team just fall over in the second half, you know, just not want to fight into it, keep in it. For the 2 weeks, they have continued to fight throughout the game. And oh my goodness, did they win that victory last night, Andy? I mean, the 2-play drive, the big drive to big pass to J.D. McKissick, and then right after that, the pass to Ricky Seals-Jones for a touchdown. I mean, we have not seen that, Andy. Like everyone was panicking in the offseason and training camp and saying that we couldn't score touchdowns in the preseason. The offense was inept; they couldn't do it. And then they come out and score touchdowns like that last night, Andy. I was impressed with the offense. I'll say that.
Yeah, offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we're just us quickly reacting to the game. We're going to get into this on Sunday in our main show. You guys are going to get into it when you drop your Burgundy Zone episode. Offensively side of the ball, I was so impressed with this football team. Like you say, that Ricky Seals-Jones touchdown, when that ball went in the air, I was like, I was like, oh my God, no, what have we done? Yeah. When he caught that ball, I'm surprised you didn't hear me cheering from here. I erupted because that doesn't happen to Washington. We don't do that. That under Jay Gruden and teams of old, that's been picked, and we're all sitting there going, "Oh, here we go again." But oh my God, what a feeling that was to know that this offense, the way they moved the ball last night, and hey, shock horror, Carl, when you give the ball to Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. You win games when you win games of football. We all said it this past week. We couldn't believe how little he was targeted last week. Get that man the ball. He is a superstar. If he's covered, if he's double covered, it doesn't matter. He will make plays. You know, he will do everything for this team. And last night just proved that on the offensive side of the ball. Carl, just briefly tell me what it was like before we talk a little bit about defensively side of the ball. What was it like in the stadium last night? A lot of people at the start of the game said there was a lot of blue surrounding the stadium, but we spoke during the game. You were in our little group chat saying, hey, the atmosphere is like nothing we've heard before. I couldn't quite get that on TV. It doesn't come across. Tell us what FedEx Field was like last night.
Well, we are the sleeping giant, essentially. There are a lot of fans of this team that go to games and they don't make noise because they know generally what happens at games. So there was a lot of blue, but that is to be expected. New York travels well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, New York having a bunch of people from there. A lot of New Yorkers live in this area. I know that for a fact, being from Montgomery County myself. But I was very impressed with how loud the stadium was late in that fourth quarter when the team needed it. Mm-hmm. There was a couple of false starts. There were a couple timeouts we forced with it. And I think the team coming through for us was also like us coming through for them with the noise in a way, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you this right now. Giants fans thought they had that stadium because they were louder. They had Giants chants, defense chants. They thought they had it, but it was only because majority of Washington fans are concerned about cheering because they know what can happen. They've been there before. They've seen it. Once Taylor went on that drive, that crowd changed. They took over. And it was like every single time that the Giants got on the field, you couldn't hear anything. And I can't tell you how happy I am to have that happen. And they're not even at full capacity either. It was only at half. The 300s wasn't all that filled. The upper deck wasn't as much as Sunday. The nosebleeds were, but the lower bowl was completely full. I mean, that was packed to the brim. But dude, the environment. I said this on Twitter last night. I felt like we as fans needed this, like as reassurance that we still have it. You know, we can win games and we can get loud, and because that was a big thing about our fan base growing up. You know, in the 80s, growing all the Super Bowl teams was that we won Dallas, jumping and cheering, and it was about the fans and how loud and crazy they were. Getting back to that, I think, is rule number one for us. I think last night was a step in that direction.
Yeah, most definitely, my friend. Carl, you and I have known each other for a couple of years now. We have talked quarterbacks probably nearly every day for them 2 years, my friend, whether it be on podcasts, whether it be on group chat, whether it be on text messages, phone calls, and we talk quarterbacks. Taylor Heinicke, my friend, have we, Carl, I'm going to whisper this, have we found the man in Washington to lead this offense moving forward?
For this season, yeah. Nothing is, Taylor has to be consistent, first and foremost. That was a bad read by him. I didn't like the play call. I heard on Ron Rivera's press conference that third down was or second down was an RPO, and I didn't like it because the Giants had just called a timeout. And so they're trying to stop the clock. And so what you would say there is, okay, let's run the ball again. That way they will liquidate another timeout, and then we'll run the ball again and punt it and tell our defense, okay, you got 40 seconds. They got no timeouts. Stop them. And that's how I kind of felt things were going to go. But instead they threw the football, and they did it with an RPO play action. And if I want anything to happen there, I want that to be the kind of stretch play action, when the quarterback runs around the field and a tight end's running in front of him. Give the quarterback that option to run or to just slide or to just dump it off to Logan Thomas. You know what I'm saying? That mistake I thought was big. I thought that was on Scott Turner, but it was also on Taylor for not giving the ball to Antonio Gibson. It was a run pass option play, or RPO, what they call it. And so he chose to pass it when he should have simply just give it away. But besides that, this is everything I thought I saw against Tampa. And I've been saying it all offseason that this kid deserved a chance to compete for the starting job, because I respect people who are not ones that are normally sought after or the number one draft picks, so to speak, and that work hard and do their thing. And that's Taylor. And you could just see that I think he kind of played free. It just kind of seemed like he was himself. He didn't seem like he was trying to do anything. When they went into that 2-minute offense and they had to have everything speeded up, he seemed like he was in his own element. And that 2-play drive, nobody could see it, but J.D. McKissick was held. When he went across that line of scrimmage, the linebacker had chipped him, and that was supposed to be a flag. But Taylor's ball was so perfect, it still hit J.D. in stride.
In stride, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Ricky Seals-Jones catch. The biggest thing about that is the fact that Taylor went through multiple progressions. He went through red. He saw he didn't have anything, but he saw that he had enough time to get the ball out. And so he was like, all right, screw it. I'm throwing it to my big guy in the corner. And it was a perfect ball. And Ricky Seals-Jones had 2 taps it in for a great catch. I ran probably about 20 yards in the stands after that catch. I was like, oh, my God, he caught it. It was absolutely insane.
What I liked about that catch was, like you say, he went through his reads and then he saw, hey, I've got the big guy in a one-on-one matchup. Washington teams in the past might not have happened. And he thought, hey, do you know what? Let's try and go win this game. He saw one-on-one. He saw him, the perfect matchup, and hey, what a throw. Great catch. My God, like you say, Carl, you were running 20. I was doing laps around my living room. I didn't know what the hell was going on, my friend, but it was great to see. Carl, let's just briefly talk about, I know you're at work, the defensive side of the ball. Lady Luck being on our side at times as well. The Giants literally dropped the game in the end zone. They had the flag on the Jones run that was called back for the TD. We had the missed field goal at the end. Lady Luck was on our side. What did you briefly make of defensively side of the ball? Things to learn from, a lot to learn from going into the run of games we're having now. From your perspective of being in the stadium, what did you make of the D-line last night?
Well, can I say something real quick? Just because I want to get it off my tongue. I think Jamin Davis took John Bostic's job last night. They started John Bostic in that game. He got picked apart in the passing game. Then they made the difference to Jamin, and then it was John Bostic who was coming off on third down, not Jamin anymore. So they made that switch. I'm not going to say thankfully, because John he does have his weaknesses there. The defensive line, Jonathan Allen played it with his really hard and well game. I thought he was well executed, and he made the plays when we needed it. The ends, though, Chase and Montez, they have the ability to get to the quarterback, but it's not immediate. What they have is prolonged pressure. So their length, their strength, and their determination is what gets them to the quarterback. Von Miller is a guy who can get you one step off, hit your arm down, bend around the corner, and get to the quarterback. They're not there yet, and so they have to get there. But until they're there, our secondary is supposed to take the weight off of them. They're supposed to strap them up pretty well and give them some extra time. What was happening was that the Giants are running these play action and these 7-step drops, and the defensive line, because they thought it was a run, they weren't pass rushing. So once they realized it was a pass, they started going upfield. But by that time, Daniel was getting the ball out of his hands, and the wide receiver was wide open. So you could say the pass rush would have gotten there if the corner was actually strapped on the wide receiver, and the ball probably would not have gone to that wide receiver if there was pressure in his face. It's like the chicken or the egg argument.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, both units, all three units on defense need to play better. Straight up, they do. They're not playing sound. They're not playing together. It seems like they're still trying to figure each other out, and maybe that's because of the middle linebacker spot, and they don't know who's really going to be there. But I'm very intrigued with what I saw, and the fact is, my buddy Donnie, who was with me, he had the Giants kicker, got him 22 points in fantasy last night. Bend but don't break. That's what they do. And these close touch style games, this is what you should expect. I just did not expect that many points to be scored. The Daniel Jones run, that was all on Montez. He completely bit on the play action and lost containment on that. And that was a good holding call, by the way. But, dude, Andy, I want to ask your opinion. What did you guys see on TV with that Chase Young penalty? What was that?
I didn't see anything. I thought the officiating last night was the standard NFL officiating. I thought it was terrible. Some of the flags, I think there was a holding call in the fourth quarter on, who was it? One of our guys. I can't remember who it was now. I was right near the end, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they've literally just cost us the game. It's gone from, it's Carla by 3 hours sleep. It's very, I can't, I thought the officiating was terrible. They had a couple as well. The touchdown that Jones scored, it got called back for holding straight away, even on TV. And I hate Aikman. I can't stand the guy, but you've seen them 9 times out of 10 on a regular seat on a Sunday. If that gets called against Washington, I'm throwing the TV remote at the TV, because I thought that wasn't much in that, Carl. Maybe you couldn't see as much from where you were in the stadium. Again, I thought the officiating was very, very poor. But again, it comes back to Lady Luck, Carl. For the first time in a long, long time, was on Washington's side, in my humble opinion. Washington got some really, really big breaks last night. And just wrapping this up, Carl, what are the 2 things we have to take on both sides of the ball moving forward? We now go to the Bills. The Bills is going to be a completely different cat of fish. This is going to be a completely different game. What are the 2 things you want to see us improve on most of all on both sides of the ball?
First, on that block, on the Daniel Jones run, It was holding because the DB is trying to get away from the block by spinning. You're not allowed to continue blocking. It's like they're spinning, trying to get away from you. You can't just like grab or continue to push. And so whenever those situations happen, that's like the first thing the ref is going to look at, because that's where the runner's running. So the runner's running in that direction. The ref is looking right there, and he can see this guy having his hands on his back. It's typical. It happens. It really does. It happens all the time. The 2 things that we have to take forward going forward, the 2-minute drill for Taylor Heineke, that seems to be his bread and butter. He talked about it. He played in the, not an RPO, but the all-out air attack at West Coast offense at Old Dominion for 4 years. So he knows it like the back of his hand. So you could kind of see, even early in that game, they were going hurry-up offense, and they were kind of pressuring the Giants not to make substitutions. We need to continue that for Taylor because we don't want to take him out of his comfort zone at this point. We saw what he did last night. He caught fire, and that was great. And then the other takeaway is we have to find a way to create pressure one way or another. And I don't want to say gap integrity was my biggest issue, because that's what generally happened with Daniel Jones last night, especially that first touchdown run. Terrible gap integrity is what I've been talking about. He's looking for that. Daniel Jones is looking for you to go outside so he can run up the middle. That's what he wants to do. Otherwise, they need to do better in that aspect of gap integrity, especially with his running style quarterbacks. But pressuring with other means, because I know what Jack Del Rio's game plan right now is essentially going zone and telling you that we're not going to give up anything deep. You have to hit everything short, and we're going to come up and tackle you. We're going to bank on our rushers getting to your quarterback in a very short amount of time, and that's not happening. So you have to kind of mix it around. You got to screw with the defense.
You think that's a linebacker issue, Carl?
No, I think it's also kind of schematic in a way, because what you can do is you can line up like, they call it a zero blitz. What Baltimore does, Baltimore Ravens generally on third down, they'll go to a zero blitz. And what that is it's one man on every wide receiver and tight end, and then everyone else is blitzing. And they all line up on the line of scrimmage. But what some teams do is that they'll change that around. So they'll take some of those guys and drop them back and create that into a zone, screwing with the offensive line. I'm not seeing that kind of creativity out of the defense yet. And I think because we were banking that we were so good we didn't have to. But at this point, I think we need to, especially going against the Bills and Buffalo. We're going to have to get creative against Josh Allen and those guys because they're coming and they're good. Yeah,
they are very good. Carl, it's been good to catch up on our first YouTube catch-up, Carl. We finally made it to YouTube. Don't ask me how. We're here. But if you guys make sure you go and hit the DC Tweet Team YouTube channel. Carl, just quickly tell us when the next Burgundy Zone is dropping, my man.
The next Burgundy Zone is tonight. It's going to be dropping at probably around 8:30. We're going to have some great guests for you guys recapping a fantastic victory that was last night. Tonight's going to be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, my voice is still not 100%. I tried not yelling last night, but Taylor just did not allow that to happen.
Dude, you could not yell last night. But Carl, you are at work. For the love of God, don't be falling off any scaffolding tired today. I know you're as hard as hell, my man. Be safe, Carl. We love you over here at the DC Tweet Team, my man. And we'll catch up with you soon.
And now I got to go back to work.
Peace out.
Bye, brother.